Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Dan the Fix-It Man. Got another quick video here for you. I'm going to show you how to change a CV boot on a 2004 Toyota Tundra. And the first thing you need to do is take the wheel off and support the vehicle on jack stands like I've done over here. Now we want to remove this dust cap here, and you can do that with a screwdriver and a hammer. You don't want to bend this or mangle this too much, but just kind of go around and tap a few times. As long as you've got a kind of a sharp screwdriver that can wedge in between there, and you just kind of gently go around and tap that a few times. There's a cotter pin in here holding that, and we'll take that out. And then you can take off the little star retainer like a castle nut. Now we need to take off the axle nut. You'll see why I'm leaving the caliper on. I put a screwdriver up in the top edge of the brake rotor here, and that will prevent the whole setup from turning. So then we'll put a socket on here, and there we go. And that's loose. We can take off this axle nut and set it aside. And now we can take off the caliper. There are two bolts on the back side of the caliper that you want to remove. This bottom one here and this one up at the top. And those are 17 millimeter. And we can set those aside. And now the top one. Now to pull off the caliper, it helps if you just pop a screwdriver in between the rotor and the pad backing plate there, or the metal on the pad, and just give it a couple little pries, and that will push those pistons back in just a little bit so that you can take off your brake caliper. And you want to be careful. This has got a metal line right here, and what we'll do is you just don't want to kink that or bend that too much. So we're going to go ahead and tie this up using a few zip ties here, and then just kind of tighten those so that that'll sit up and out of the way. There we go. And then you can take off the brake disc or the rotor here. And a lot of times that just takes a little tap or two with a hammer. That just kind of knocks it loose on the hub there. And there's your brake rotor. We can take that off. Okay, now here underneath we need to take off these 4 bolts, 2 on either side of this lower ball joint, and that will allow us to separate this steering knuckle and be able to pivot that upper on the upper ball joint. We'll be able to pivot that outward and take out our axle. And these are 17 millimeter. There we go. Okay, now you see that we are disconnected, and we can just press that axle out, and that's loose. And what we need to do is now go down underneath and pry that out of the the gearbox. There's a little retaining snap ring that is keeping it in. And there it is. And then you can come over here to this side and take that out the rest of the way. There we go. Now here you could buy these axles already rebuilt, but I've got a boot, so I'm just gonna take that off and replace it. I'll show you how to do that. So I've cut these old clamps off already, and to take off this boot, a razor knife works just fine. Just cut that back, and we'll throw that away. Okay, so this isn't easy to show you with one hand, but there is, if you can see it, a snap ring in there. And that's what's holding this one together. And so you just need some snap ring pliers in there. And okay, so I've got it separated now. Sorry, I had to set the camera down. It was just too hard to do that snap ring that goes into this groove right here. But I've got this all cleaned up here. Okay, so I've got this end of the joint here soaking. The instructions say to not use anything that's petroleum based, so they say actually dish soap works pretty well. So actually it really did. It gets a lot of that grease out of there. It really cuts through. And what we'll do now is rinse this out really well and dry it off and fill it with the new grease. Now, one mistake you don't want to make is putting this back together before you put the new boot on, so let's do that. I just got this CV boot kit on Amazon, and it's only like $10. But so we'll just slide this on like so, and we'll slide that all the way up to this notch here. There we go. So that this kit also comes with some CV joint grease, which is nice. So then you want to just put all the new grease in there. That comes with the kit. You know, you can also buy this if your boot doesn't come with grease. But this is nice because it's already the proper measured amount to go back into this joint. Really just want to pack it down there as much as possible in and around all those ball bearings. Now the nice thing is that just slides right on. You don't have to mess with that snap ring as long as that's in place, and you can see that caught very well. I pulled the boot down a little bit farther just so that we can have a little bit more room to work. So now I'm going to slide that back that right direction. Try to keep all this grease in there as much as possible. Okay, so you can see we've got the new boot on exactly where we want it, in that notch on the shaft and in that little recess on the other end here. And we can go ahead and put the clamps on. You just wrap it around like so, and it's got little hooks here that hook into these little openings, and so we'll go as tight as we possibly can on that. Okay, for that smaller clamp, same thing, just wrap it around here, clamp it where it goes. There we go. Okay, so that's nice and snug, and then we'll get the tool to crimp that down. Okay, so this is the tool that I use. It's got a little hook here. It grabs either side of this, and then this center part actually pushes down at the same time. But you just clamp onto that. See that part of the clamp here? You just open these up, grab onto that, and with a little bit of pressure, you just squeeze that, together. So I've got these clamps on and crimped down this side as well. Anyways, it's on and ready to go back in. Okay, so you just want to put that right back in the same way you got it out. Just use care to not rip one of the boots here as you put it back in, and you can just line that up right there. And if you just turn it as you push, you can line up those splines. Okay, so you just want to line that up with the splines there, maybe give it a turn or two, and there you go. Now, this is not all the way in yet, but if you just give it a few bumps like that before you connect it, that's got our shaft all the way in past that snap ring. So we can put the axle nut back on, of course, just finger tight at this point. Okay, actually, to get these lower bolts in, you might see the jack right here. I went ahead and had to lift this up a little bit. After taking that out, the spring pushes that lower control arm down, and it makes it pretty difficult to line that up. So I just used a floor jack here to push that lower control arm back up so that I can line these up. Okay, now we can put the brake disc back on, and we can clip these zip ties here and get rid of those. And we can carefully put our caliper back on. We just want to make sure that those pads will go over that rotor. And then you've got your two 17mm caliper bolts that go into the back. That brings us back to our axle nut here, and we're going to use the same method to tighten that as we did to loosen that. So okay, so this nut you want to torque. It's like 173 is what I read. And we can put that retainer back on there, and then I've got a new cotter pin here, a little bit more stout than the one that was in there, and I'll just tap that all the way in, and we'll bend this up. Okay, don't forget to take that screwdriver out. It wouldn't go very far if you tried to drive off without putting that back, or without taking that out. And then you can tap the dust cap back on, and just be careful. You don't want to bang this all up, so just tap it gently around the edge. And once you get started, it'll go on fairly easy. And that's it. We've got the new boot on, and we're ready to go. You just may want to top off your differential fluid, as we did lose a little bit by pulling that axle out. It's not a lot, but it's not a bad idea to check that before you get on the road. Thanks so much for watching, and good luck.